Hey, what up, y'all? Finally getting back here with this update. It's been a long road here with this 8.8 rear end. I'll get to that here in a second. I just kind of wanted to go over a few things that I've done since last time I made a video. I don't know if I got these motor mounts in last time, but yeah, these polyurethane mounts are kind of cool. You just take the factory mounts and you drill out. There's like a factory press right here. You just drill these little holes out, and then you just put it back together and bolt it down. So I got them in there. I didn't bother painting these or anything because, I mean, they're probably just going to get fucked up anyway, and the clamshells will cover those. So I ain't too worried about that shit. Whole front end's together now. Like I said, I don't remember my last video, so I'm just going to go over a few things real quick. I did finally get my proportioning valve. Don't know if I went over that, as I said. This thing was on back order. This is a disc proportioning valve for a G-body or metric chassis. Little couple touches I did here. I know I said I was going to use the factory clips, but they just kind of look junky, and the brake line was super loose up here. Like, you could just move the brake line around and it would just jiggle in there. So I just went and got some of these little clips with the polyurethane bushings on them, rubber bushings, whatever they are. So I just kind of redid this whole front end here, this whole brake line setup with those little clamps, and then I just kind of bored them out to fit the factory bolts. So they're all still in factory bolt holes using the factory bolts. I just bored out the little clip about, I don't know, one size up. So I think these are like 14 mil bolt heads. So did that. I got them in all down through here. I'm thinking about putting another one in right here because this kind of, I don't know if you can see that, but it jiggles quite a bit. So I'm afraid during, the car running, it might start vibrating a lot and cause a lot of noise or something. So we'll see. Got the fuel line ran in. This is final mock-up of the fuel line. I'm not taking it back out. I'm try to keep it real tight, but I don't know, this little portion here is a little loose. But I'll show you what I did here. I got these lower clamps because I'm going to be running a return line. So I'm going to run a return line in the same position. Just use a smaller clamp and a lower clamp. And then I have these little separators. These work pretty good. I did not realize when I ordered these that there was a PTFE separator and a standard braided line separator. So these are standard 8AN separators, and they're just a little too big. And I had a bunch of these little clips, with these rubber bushings sitting around that I wasn't going to use. So I just cut them in half and put them in there, wrap the line around there. See, this fucker doesn't move for shit now. So it was really loose, like this thing would just jiggle around. I don't know, it may look ghetto to some people, but it's what I got, and it's what I'm going to use. It's going to work just fine. I tried to make it look nice. Maybe I'll trim these edges off once I actually get this piece in here. Maybe I'll glue it in the inside. I don't know. I'll figure something out. I'll try to make it look a little nicer. I wanted to keep this fuel line tucked nice and close to the frame because, as you can see, that braided line just chews away this paint. And I got a little other spot up here. And I didn't want to self-tap into this frame, but there was no other options here. So I got a couple little self-taps right here. There's one right here. I got my line separator. And then I got a self-tap. And then this one and this one are factory line location holes. And as I said, I just take these clips and I bored out the holes and just use the factory bolts. I think it looks real clean myself. Let me know what you think. I think it's going to look real nice. As I said, I'm going to run this return line. It's going to come out of here into this clamp. See, I got two clamps right here. So it's going to come through here into my separator. And then, I don't know, maybe I'll run another clamp here I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do yet exactly. And then I got another little separator. Like I said, I just use little rubber grommets, and it seems to work pretty good. This one's a little looser than the other one, but and then my regulator is going to sit right up here on this fender, so that's kind of why I just got it laying there for now. All right. And then I got my fuel pump mounted up. Mounted it right back here on this rear portion of the frame. I just ran the fuel line right into the frame. I don't know if you can see that real well. There you go. This was a factory hole, and I just took a little diamond bit and just kind of widened it out because my turn line, hopefully, I'm going to put it through here. It's on back order. I haven't got it yet, otherwise it'd be done. But I'm just going to try to run both lines right through this frame rail. And if you see how that goes, it goes right up through here, through that hump. And then that's my boxed portion of the frame. And then it goes out over there where I showed you. So, it's kind of loose inside the frame. It might rattle around a little bit, but I'm not too worried about it wearing through. It's fucking braided stainless. So, that's update on the fuel system. These little fucking... Maybe I'll do a video if anybody's interested on these PTFE fittings. If anyone's running the braided line, like rubber line, these fittings are so much easier to use than your standard rubber and fittings, I think. Granted, not everybody needs to run PTFE, and I probably didn't really, but I wanted to just to be safe. But these are so much easier. It's just like a compression style fitting in here. So you slide this over the line, and then you kind of fray out here, I'll show you real quick. You fray out the braided line. So you'd separate the braided portion from get that to focus. There's like a plastic line in there. So you separate the braided from the plastic, and then you stick your compression fitting in between the braided and the plastic line, and it only goes on so far. And then you slide it right back over the, I'm gonna grab my fitting real quick. Here's my regulator setup. I'm running the 13301 Aeromotive. Oh, it's a little windy here today. Because eventually I plan on running, an LS with turbo, so I don't know if this is the best one, but it's got the vacuum for boost. I believe this is E85 compatible as well. Got my Russell line on there. Like I said, I just was throwing shit together one day. But anyway, so here you go. Let me see. Sorry if this camera's a little jolty. Get this thing apart here. Step back here. I'll get to that rear end here in just a second. I know there's a lot of videos on this shit, but I just kind of wanted to show y'all because I know a lot. Some people have questions. So here you go. Here's your little compression fitting. And as I said, that slides in between there. I'm not going to do it right now, but that would go between the braided line and over the plastic line. And then here's this line, this little clip, your other little fitting would slide right over this braided, like so, just like that. Then you'd put this little fitting in here, and then while this fitting is on the line, obviously, see here's the other end of your fitting. I don't know if you can see that very well. It's the other end of your fitting. It's going to slide right on to that, just like so. Well, it's a little harder once thing's on there. So it'd be like this, and then you just bring this up, and then you tighten this end down onto the fitting. I can make a video if anybody's curious. There's other videos. I don't know. I thought I'd like to show you. I was wondering about it myself, and I thought it was pretty cool. All right, to this 8.8. A lot of questions. I got a lot of views on that 8/8 swap. So there must be a lot of people trying to figure this shit out too. So I want to kind of go into a little bit of detail. Sorry if I get to rambling about this shit. I'm just trying to make a good video about this. Alright, so here are my 8/8 G-body swap control arms. These are the upper arms. I just kind of have them zip tied up here to get them out of the way. The thing that makes these functional, because the 8/8 upper ears are a little more spread out than the G-body. The thing that makes these functional and what you need with these arms is this spherical joint, which allows this to pivot, to pivot side to side. Let me cut off the zip tie real quick. So I can show you kind of what I'm talking about. Okay, so the thing that makes these functional with this 8/8 is the fact that this arm can rotate side to side. With a G-body, these were one position. You couldn't move them. One position only. They would only bolt on one direction. So with these are double adjustables. So you can, they're really cool. I've never had something like this. When you have the rear end in, you can actually, by adjusting the arms, you can move the rear end from side to side, and you can also pivot the pinion angle. And before I took the rear end back out, I had it all in here before we did all the welding and fixing it. I had it mocked in here. This was the best part. This 8/8 rear end is just a little bit wider than the G-body. Now, with my 245s, reminder, I'm using the Trans Am GTA wheels. So if anyone's familiar with a GTA or a Trans Am, these wheels have a weird offset. The front wheels, which I now have on the front, are pretty deep. See that? They're pretty deep set wheel. And then the wheels that would go on the back of the Trans Am, they are not. They're pretty shallow. So the problem I had with running these wheels was that I believe it was the driver's side, and it's still pretty close, but I don't have to. This tie rod actually rubbed the wheel with the other wheels on the front. So I had to put these wheels that are deep ones were on the rear, and the shallow ones were on the front. And I had to run spacers in the front because the only wheels that would fit on the front fit on the rear with the G-body rear end was these deep dish ones. And even with those and 245 wide tires, I had a 1/4 inch between the tire and the frame. So they were sucked in there, even with that deep dish and everything, with that back spacing. So my point to this was, now with this 8/8, I can now run the deep dish wheels in the front without spacers, hopefully. It looks like I should be okay. And put the shallow rims in the rear, which actually gives me a lot more room, because now with these the other rims in the rear, I have 2.5 inches between the frame and the tire, and those are still 245s. And I measured the inside of my wheel wells, and they're roughly about 14 inches deep, 14 inches wide. And my tires with this rear end stick out 12 inches. So I have around 2 inches to the outside before they start sticking out and looking stupid, and 2.5 inches between the tire and the frame. Point to this was, that's awesome, because now they're a little wider, and I can probably fit a nice fat tire back here without having any problems. Because I know without the right, I could have done it with the right back spacing, but I love these wheels, and I'm so glad that this worked out now, because now I can fit some maybe 275s, maybe even some 305s back here. I'm going to have to check into that. But, so that is a plus for me. Maybe some other people might have issues with that. But this 8/8 rear end is a little bit wider. So, to me, that works to my advantage. To you, it may not. The other issue I had that you will have, depending on rear end, I don't know if all the rear ends are the same in these Mustangs. So you need these upper arms. I've watched some other videos, and it seems like as long as you get this pinion angle right and you get this shit set up, you shouldn't have too many problems. I know there's a lot of other kits out there, and I wasn't sure what I should do, but so far, it seems like this will work just fine. And there you go, there's some light. I don't know why I didn't have that on. So, yeah, I'm using Speedway lower control arms, the boxed ones, and they fit in there. The only issue I was having was that the Ford lower control arm mounts, let me get this rear flipped over now. The Ford lower control arm mounts were too wide. Get this flipped over for you. Sorry guys, I didn't think this out real well, did I? Alright, well you can kind of see here. These Ford lower control arm mounts were too wide. So as you can see, we had to add, I don't know what you want to call it, I just called it a bracket. We welded in on the inside, so this being the inside, this was the side, the control arms fit nice and snug against this wall. There was about a 1/2 inch gap between the control arm and the outside of this wall. So what we did was take 2 pieces of 1/4 inch thick steel, weld those together, and then we welded it in here. See if I can get a good view of that. And then just to kind of add a little more extra strength to the outside on the other side, we just took another 1/4 inch piece and welded that here on the outside. So I haven't got this back in yet, but I took measurements, and the control arm bushings are 2.5 inches wide, and this slot right here is now 2.5 inches wide. So it should slide right in without any problems. Hopefully. We'll find out today. And I was going to post another video later once I get it in there, kind of showing you what's up. But I just kind of wanted to show you what I did to solve my issue here. This may not be the best idea to some people. This is just what I thought about doing, and so far it seems to be working okay. We'll find out. Alright, so now I had to take the spring perches. I had to make spring perches. What I did was take 1/4 inch thick steel. We just made a circle. I know this one's a little off. When we tacked it on here, it moved on the plate, but we got the plate in the right position, I believe. Hopefully. Once again, we'll find out. 1/4 inch thick piece of steel. I just went to my buddy's shop and grabbed a couple pieces of scrap exhaust tubing. I believe this is 2.5 inches. 2.25, something like that. Whatever's going to make my... I just grabbed something that fit in my spring. So now... the baby's going to fit just like that. Boom. Come on, camera. There we go. So that's that issue. Now, I don't know if you see this stuff. Let me turn that light back on. On this is out of 02 GT. On those Mustangs, the brake lines ran on the body. So, my buddy got me these little clips, and on the underside of this, let me see if I can even get a good view of this. See, there's a nut on the bottom of that. There we go. There's a nut down there. So I just went to the hardware store, and I got these little clips here. Let me show you on this one here. I got some nice little chrome Allen heads. Nice little chrome Allen heads here. And then I got these little clips. See that? So now, not only have I made a nice little custom bracket to hold my brake line down, my brake line is removable. I have to get a new one made still, or I'm going to make one. I haven't decided. My brake line is now removable. So if I ever have to pull the rear end out, that's going to be nice because I can just unbolt the brake line and I shouldn't need to bleed the brakes because then I can just pull the calipers and hang everything. Well, this is a long video. Sorry about that. Oh, the bushings. So the other issue, well, there's a couple other things I need to talk about real quick. Some problem I had was evidently you're not supposed to pull the bushing cups out. So I did that. I pulled the entire bushing cup out, bushing and all, you know, which is a pain in the fucking ass. And then I was hoping that maybe my G-body bushings would fit. No, they're too big to fit in this hole. That'd be just regular G-body suspension bushings. I was hoping, you know, I didn't know. So you can order, Ford Racing sells them, the new bushings to press in, but I think I'm going to buy the billet aluminum spherical bushings because they just, you know, you press one side in and then you just screw it in. And it's a solid mount. So that'll help wheel hop, and that's going to help my rear end, you know, stabilize, and it's just going to be all around better, I believe. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm putting spherical bushings in the uppers. I got polyurethane bushings through the bottoms. I think I'll be all right. All right. Two more things here. The other problem with this rear end is obviously it's out of a Ford, so this lug pattern was different. This had a 5x4.5 for a Mustang. Now, if you have anybody, if you're doing this, this was about the most expensive part of the fucking build. If I went somewhere, they were talking about $260 to $300 to drill the lugs for both axles and my brake rotors. And then I had half-inch screw-in studs put in. So these are strange axle screw-in studs. They wanted around $300 to have all this shit done. So big thank you to my buddy Tyler. He works at a machine shop. He did this for me for nothing. He drilled out my axles. He even put them on the machine, checked the surfaces. He said they were a little out of whack. He machined the surfaces down. He got these perfect. Everything fits great. Like I said, I had everything mocked up. The calipers fit great. Nothing rubs. He even, you know, checked the axles. I mean, he said they were just a little bit out of whack, but nothing that, you know, I wasn't too worried about it. And even if something does blow up, then I guess, you know, I gotta rebuild it, but that's no big deal. That's a little bit down the road, hopefully. So, saved me a lot of money there, and I super appreciate that. If you're doing this swap, like I said, so far this was the most expensive. I got this rear end for $250. Well, I guess it was pretty close, but I got the rear end for $250. And then, like I said, this, if I would have went somewhere to have somebody do this shit, it would have cost me around $300. So I thank him so much for helping me out with that. I did put new axle bushings in this, the greased bushings here on the ends, just in case you're wondering. I did do that, just, you know, whatever. I figured I had them out anyway. So the brake rotors and the axles are now about 5x4 3/4, which everything works great. The wheels bolted right on. Everything's perfect. So big thank you to him for that. Another question anyone might have. I haven't checked this yet, but my idea, these shock mounts, because if anyone's familiar with what your G-body rear end looked like, these shocks were angled, like so. They went out at an angle. Now, I'm thinking of two options here. One, loosen this up, rotate this bracket to the correct angle, drill another hole, and then just use a stock mount, because my shocks will rotate. Or, idea number two, because, you know, this has that bolt right there. Idea number two, hopefully, maybe, because this is how it's supposed to bolt in, maybe it'll fit right here. Maybe this will bolt right into that factory location on that Ford. I've seen some other guys. I got a lot of information from Sloppy Mechanics. He has a YouTube video on doing this, and what he did was just use the stock mount. Didn't even move it or anything. So the shock, the bolt was still straight, and the shock was angled. And I'm not trying to, you know, talk shit on the guy or anything. He's got a lot of good information, but I just didn't like that idea. Because, I don't know, it looked kind of goofy, and, you know, obviously it's not the best idea. But, you know, he's got good information. I appreciate his video. So that's my idea. Either use this stock bolt that came with it, or, as I said, angle this shock mount on here to the correct angle, and then just use this. So, as I said, I'm going to get this put in today, well, as best I can, because I can't really mount the uppers yet. I'm going to get the lowers in and, you know, just make sure those are perfect where they need to be, because that was the biggest issue. Everything else was great. Any other questions on this, guys? You go ahead and message me, do whatever, write a comment. I appreciate all the views on my video with this. I hope that I'm helping somebody out, because there's not a lot of information on this 8/8 swap, at least videos. So when I get this in, I'll make another video and post that. Like I said, any questions, you guys just message me, do whatever you want to do. I'm more than happy to help anybody, more than happy to answer questions as long as I can. Thanks a lot, guys. Later.